Hi, my name is Sean Williams, and I'm a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services. I was working with one of my customers on updating their CloudFormation templates, replacing their static AMI mappings with SSM Public Parameters, and I thought it would be a good idea to share what we did. AWS provides AMIs as System Manager Public Parameters, and implementing them in CloudFormation makes grabbing the latest AMIs much simpler than manually updating your templates. I want to show you how you can update your CloudFormation templates too, to include SSM Public Parameters. But first, let's talk about System Manager Parameter Store and the public parameters that AWS publishes there. AWS Systems Manager is a collection of services that enable you to manage and operate your AWS and on-premises resources at scale. It provides a centralized hub for operational tasks, offering features like configuration management, patching, resource inventory, and automation. Parameter Store, a tool in the AWS Systems Manager, provides secure hierarchical storage for configuration data management and secrets management. In addition to allowing you to create your own parameters, AWS maintains a list of public parameters which you can use to define AMIs in your automation scripts. By using a dynamic variable name, you're deploying the latest version of the AMI without having to do a lookup and capture of the static AMI ID in your scripts. AWS maintains public parameters for a number of AMIs, including Linux, Windows, and macOS. Now, let's take a look at the architecture we're working with. The customer has a fairly straightforward three-tier web architecture with public and private subnets, a web server layer, an application layer, and a database layer. This architecture was developed as a platform for them to migrate on-premises applications to. Whenever they want to deploy this architecture today, they have to modify parts of the CloudFormation template. Let's take a look at where those changes have to be made. This is a selection from a CloudFormation template showing the static AMI references in the mapping section. Every time AWS updates the AMI IDs for the AMIs listed in the mappings, the customer has to update this part of the CloudFormation template. Otherwise, their CloudFormation template would not deploy. This can cause delays in deploying new environments for their migrating applications. These are the changes in the CloudFormation template that need to be made in the Mappings and Resources sections in order to change the static AMI IDs to dynamic parameters. You can see that the Mapping section now refers to the SSM Public Parameters when referencing an AMI. Likewise, in the Resources section, the mapped SSM instance resolves the SSM parameter by finding the value in the map section of the CloudFormation template. As you can see from this mapping section, this customer wants the ability to choose from several different AMIs when deploying architecture. So having multiple parameters defined in the mapping section allows them to change the resources section to reflect each AMI that they want to deploy. Let's take a look at a demo of this updated CloudFormation template.
Alright, in this demo, I'd like to show you how a CloudFormation template with SSM Public Parameters can dynamically resolve the latest version of an AMI to create an EC2 instance. Let's take a quick look at the CloudFormation template. As you can see, the mapping section of the CloudFormation template has been updated with the SSM parameters for each OS and has an instance type associated with the AMI. The instance type is completely editable here, so if I want to make a change, I can. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at a particular instance type here, the T4G Micro. Let's assume that the customer wants to try a workload on Graviton because it's an economical way to run compute resources on AWS and helps them meet their sustainability goals. Let's go ahead and make a change here from a T4G Micro to a T4G Medium. That will give us a little more compute and memory for testing out workloads. All right. Let's go ahead and save this. That's been saved. Now there's another section of the CloudFormation template that I want to show you, and that's the resources section, especially where we have the EC2 instance defined. So we do have a lot of networking in this template, so we'll move beyond that. And here we have the mapped SSM instance, which is an EC2 instance in the resources section. This is what actually creates the EC2 instance. So if we take a look here where we have the image ID, we're substituting in values that we have in the mapping section. And this will be reflected in the CloudFormation template and then also in the architecture as we go ahead and deploy this. So why don't we go ahead and do that? We'll make sure that this is saved. Move back to our AWS console. We'll go to CloudFormation. And here we're going to go ahead and create a stack. We're going to upload a template file. We'll go ahead and choose the file. Here we're going to choose the SSM parameter YAML file that we were just editing. Go ahead and say open. And then next. We'll enter a stack name. We'll call it test1. We have an environment name. Let's go ahead and select a key name here. So this is a pre-existing key. And then the operating system. We want to try Graviton, so let's go ahead and make sure that we choose that. The rest of this has to do with our networking components, so we'll leave all of those as they are. We'll scroll down after a review, go to next, and then let's go ahead and submit. This template will take about three and a half minutes to run. You can see the creation is in progress. You can look at the resources as they're being created. You can look at events as they're happening. But why don't we go ahead and pause this video, and then we'll come back to this when it's completed, and I'll show you the running instance that we have. Welcome back. You can see that our CloudFormation template is completed, and the stack is in a create complete state. So let's go ahead and take a look at the EC2 instance. So we'll head over to the EC2 console. We'll look at our instances, and you can see we have a running instance that is a T4G medium, just like we specified in the CloudFormation template. All right, we've got some more details here. Let's go ahead and click on Connect and just take a look at this instance. All right, so you can see this is up and running. Let's take a look at the CPU. So we'll do an ls CPU. There we go. All right. So here we have details about the CPU. We know it's an ARM instance, and it is up and running in our AWS environment. So just as a small recap, what we did here was we built a CloudFormation template. We asked the CloudFormation template to go get a public parameter, SSM parameter, for the AMI ID, which it did, brought it in, attached it to the instance type, and launched an EC2 instance for us, running on an ARM instance.
Thank you all for watching. I hope this has been interesting, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you.